Hi everybody and good afternoon. Al Emery here, Managing Director at Momentum Software Solutions, and welcome to our online user group for MYOB Advanced. Today we've got a very interesting agenda for you all. So before I get onto that, a little bit of housekeeping. There will be a few people joining as we get started. I think we've got over 50 registrations, which is fantastic for an online event like this. When you do join, if you're not familiar with Teams meetings, and that most people are, please mute your microphone. It just helps the sound quality and prevents any background noise coming over the speaker. If you do have a question, we'd love you to ask questions whenever you like, and just unmute your microphone or hit the raise hand icon, and you'll be able to fire away with any questions you might have. So our agenda today is an update on Momentum and what we've been doing. Then we have a guest speaker from MYOB, and he will be talking about MYOB and what's happening within MYOB as a whole, as well as a lot of news that will be of interest relating to the MYOB Advanced platform. I'm going to talk about a change to the major upgrade process that'll be rolled out in the coming year, 2022. Then we're going to have Nicholas from our consulting team provide an overview of just some of the new features that were released in the last major upgrade, 2021.1. There's literally way too many for us to show in one session. But we do have videos about them all on our website. Then we'll have Jo from our consulting team, and she's going to take you through a demonstration of the new workforce management solution, which should be of interest to many of you. We're going to introduce you to our consulting team that do all of the, provide all the services to you. Then in the second session, we're going to have a bit of online training. So Nicholas is going to cover off a few areas of interest on things you can do yourself within MYOB Advanced to give you a bit more power and a bit more control over your own destiny. And then Brian is going to take us through a number of the third-party integrated add-ons that work beautifully with MYOB Advanced. Opportunity to ask questions throughout, so if you have questions at the time, feel free to ask, and we've got a dedicated session at the end as well. So a quick update from me on Momentum and what we've been doing. We're a very busy little business, and our client base has grown considerably over the last 12 months. We now have over 260 businesses running the different MYOB ERP options that we do. We've had a lot of focus on manufacturing and construction as verticals that MYOB Advanced is very strong in. So we've supported that with people and training and expertise. We've grown our team, so overall we have now over 30 people in the business providing services of all kinds to our clients. So we've certainly been employing people. We launched the MYOB Advanced Bootcamp, which is an online learning management system that you can use for training, self-paced learning on MYOB Advanced. So it covers most of the modules: financials, accounts payable, receivables, inventory, payroll, projects to a degree. So it's certainly great for new people who are just starting out using MYOB Advanced. So that might be a new employee in your business, or it could be a business that's new to MYOB Advanced. We spend a lot of time working on how we can do things better and improve our customer experience, and we do that through post-implementation reviews, account management catch-ups that we do with customers, either face-to-face or online, making sure that we manage the upgrade process as well as we can. We also celebrate customer anniversaries, so particularly real key milestones like 5 and 10-year anniversaries. And we spend a lot of effort building up our internal capability. So we created a knowledge base a couple of years ago, and we KPI all of our people on adding content to that, so that as we become more proficient in Advanced, that it's easier for the rest of our consulting team to pick up those same skills. We also bought an office in Brisbane, so we already had a team in Brisbane, but we outgrew the office we were renting, so we purchased an office in Brendale, which is a real manufacturing hub, and we've relocated into there. We celebrated our 11th year in business, and we employed about 10 new people in the last 12 months. So it's been a very busy time for us, and I'm sure it has been for you as well. Next 12 months, more of the same, really. We want to continue improving life for our clients. We think the new major upgrade process will be better and somewhat less disruptive and a bit more predictable as well. So I'll talk about that. We want to make sure that once the upgrades are done, that you actually are able to take advantage of many of the new features. So just having the upgrade is one part of it, but then actually starting to use those new features often requires configuration and training, and sometimes some testing, as well as making sure that we are making available to you the awareness of the various add-ons that are available for Advanced. So because MYOB Advanced has a very comprehensive API, other software companies want to integrate with it, and many of them already have. So if there's a slight gap in functionality that you're looking to fill, there's a very high likelihood there's already a solution available that already integrates. So there's just a couple of photos of our new Brendale office. So yeah, we've got a lot of additional space, a lot of additional capacity to keep growing, and many of our customers are in Southeast Queensland. We've got quite a big regional footprint as well, but we just wanted to make sure that we were able to service that Brisbane market as well as we could. So the guys are pretty happy and getting settled in down there. Client anniversaries, yeah, we send out co-branded cupcakes or cookies, whatever we can organise to your local business. So some of you may have already received some of these. And it's just our way of showing appreciation for being a customer for a long period of time. Okay, so our first guest speaker is Valantis, and Valantis is head of go-to-market, but also head of product in the enterprise division at MYOB. So he's going to share with you some insights that potentially are valid to all of you and would impact you as well. So looking forward to Valantis' presentation, and I'll hand over to you now. Valantis, thank you.
Thanks, Al, and thanks for inviting me to speak to everyone today. And we have a jam-filled agenda, so I was kind of reflecting on kind of what's the best, what are the things that I can kind of share with you today that are kind of additive to what Al already has planned with the team. And he's going to be going through a lot of the kind of what's in the most recent release. So what I thought I'd do is actually just share a little bit more broadly about MYOB and kind of where we're heading, kind of midterm, long term, and then also kind of bringing it back to potentially what are the kind of implications for yourselves and your business. I think one of the exciting things in talking to you all today is one, you've kind of picked the right platform to kind of run your business on, being MYOB Advanced, in the fact that if you look at where we are seeing huge amounts of adoption in terms of this space, based on our numbers, kind of we believe that we are close to number one, if not number one, when it comes to that kind of mid-market space or kind of lower mid-market. The benefit for you means that by having more and more businesses on a consistent platform, you're kind of going to continue to get access to some of the awesome capabilities that will be coming over time, be that through kind of the underlying core that comes from Acumatica or from some of the extensions that kind of MYOB is making locally with payroll and workforce management. One of the other things that you may have seen before, but it's always kind of worth me reiterating, is kind of like, why does MYOB kind of exist, and what drives us? And our mission is very much to help businesses in Australia and New Zealand start, survive, succeed. For many of you, you're already pretty sizable businesses and definitely in that succeed bucket. So we're very much focusing ourselves on how we kind of help to continue to support you achieve the ambitions, your ambitions personally, but also kind of the ambitions of the business that you work at. And that's kind of reinforced by the kind of 4,000 other businesses who are using our ERP solutions today, the 65,000 plus users who are on these platforms. And one of the other things that is staggering for me as well is that the kind of $11 billion of transactions that occur on these platforms, and the circa 1.3 million kind of employees that are paid via MYOB kind of MYOB products. So you're kind of in good company would be the main kind of takeaway. In terms of where MYOB is going and how we think about this space, what we're seeing evolve and what we're hearing from our customers is that they are looking more and more for a solution that can help them provide integrated workflows across different parts of their business. So for those of you who have kind of been in this space for quite a while, like ERP, payroll, and workforce management have often been individual siloed systems. So kind of finance lives in ERP, kind of payroll or finance from a payroll standpoint lives in payroll, or HR runs payroll, and then workforce management starts to interface into operations, and they're often separate systems. Interestingly, often a business ends up having the same boundaries that their underlying systems have. So if the systems don't talk, sometimes we've seen in businesses where the people equally don't talk. So by getting people onto a kind of single consistent platform, you see a business being able to kind of interact and collaborate more. And that's kind of what business leaders are seeing as the future. And that's where we're seeing ourselves as well. So this is where we're continuing to talk more and more about kind of the MYOB business management platform that has ERP, payroll, and workforce management capability that are connected. Now, to be clear, this isn't the kind of old version of platform where it is a kind of a closed garden and we don't kind of open it up to everybody else. I think, as Al mentioned earlier, we have very strong open APIs, which means that we connect with other solutions as well. Because what we're focused on very much so is providing integrated workflows, regardless kind of where the system lie. But we are kind of very confident in our kind of core solutions across ERP, payroll, and workforce management. And that's really kind of enabled by what's possible in the cloud. The other bit is around real-time visibility that a lot of you are already experiencing today, being on the advanced platform. The other thing as well is that real-time visibility broadening across different parts of your business. So one of the things, having spoken to a few advanced customers, is the fact that the more of your business that's kind of leveraging the platform, the more real-time visibility you'll get across the business. So if you're just using accounts payable and accounts receivable today, you'll get greater benefits if you kind of have more of your business running on it, because you get that same real-time visibility. And then the other two areas that we see as critical for a business management platform, and you'll see us continuing to kind of double down on, is very much being designed for Australian and New Zealand businesses. So there are benefits to having global players. I think having a local player makes sure that you're able to kind of meet local regulations and making sure that you're compliant and also connecting into the local ecosystem. And then the final point is about industry and industry focus. So as you think about these various components of a business management platform, what you'll continue to see over time is the boundaries of the business management platform broadening. So today, if you're in manufacturing or you're in construction, you're already experiencing that in the fact that you can now run your kind of manufacturing shop floor. So think about capabilities around material resource planning being part of this platform. And the same thing is the case when you think about construction. So now you can actually manage the construction project, not only the financial component of it, and then equally like field services capabilities. So if you kind of reflect on what are the capabilities that will continue to increase over time, is it will go beyond just the boundaries of what you would traditionally have thought of as an ERP solution. So this is why you'll kind of continuing to connect with Al and his team around kind of what's coming up in each release, because there is goodness in each of those releases that can help you kind of continue to automate more and more of your business and get it onto a single consistent platform. Now, this isn't a perspective that we've formed in isolation. So we actually got some work done by Forrester Consulting recently because we kind of were making these observations, but really wanted to quantify, is this something that we're seeing in just a few cases, or is it actually more broad? And if you haven't read the report, it's called Seizing Advantage. So if you just Google Seizing Advantage, MYOB, you'll find the report. And what we looked at was, and what we identified through this study was, very still an incredible number of businesses out there who are being held back by the technology that they have. Now, luckily for you, you've kind of already made the first big plunge of kind of picking the right platform. So I suspect or hope that you're not experiencing these degrees of kind of inefficiencies. So just to kind of pat yourselves on the back in the fact that there are other businesses out there who have this kind of 12.5 hours of wasted employee time due to poor reporting and poor system integration, or equally, even worse, there are kind of 1 in 2 mid-market decision makers are recognizing that they're offering poor customer experiences. So a lot of that is a function of kind of poor underlying systems. There's also a little bit of that, which is kind of having a good system that hasn't been kind of broadly adopted and utilized within the kind of business. The other part is around the fact that you're also ahead of 54% of the market in the fact that you have started to move to the cloud versus the rest is still kind of catching up. But one thing to kind of keep note is that kind of these kind of results are kind of going to everybody in terms of people are now well and truly recognizing the fact that the vast majority of business needs to go to the cloud, and that the more of this, the IT infrastructure that is in the cloud enables them to continue to move faster and faster. So one of the things that's important, and I think this is the part which is also quite relevant for you all, is the benefits of a unified platform. So there's a mix of customers who are on Advanced. So for some of this, it will be relevant for you. For some of you, it may not be. But one of the things that's really clear from this Forrester work was that they have this definition of a unified platform or a future fit platform, what they also call it. And what they have found is that organizations that run on what they deem to be a future fit platform will grow 3.2 times faster than their industry peers. So this is 2 businesses, same industry, depending upon kind of how they're running their business from a business system standpoint, will grow 3.2 times faster than their industry peers, which for some industries kind of is actually survival versus just a nice to have. The thing for you to kind of be aware of as you think about your advanced solution and then also the other solutions that exist inside your business, a future fit platform talks to the need to have systems connected. So if you have multiple cloud solutions that are not integrated and don't talk to each other, that still kind of doesn't classify as a unified platform. So the more of your systems that are connected and communicating, the more likely you are able to kind of achieve that 3.2% faster growth. The other 2 aspects that came out from this unified platform research was 2 things. One, organizations who are running in this environment were able to provide more efficient and effective customer experiences. So what this is saying is that, and just to kind of make it more concrete, if you're in retail and you don't have a unified platform, then your ability to offer kind of e-commerce in an effective way is significantly hindered. So if you can't share kind of live inventory so that when someone visits your website, they know what is in stock and when it's going to be delivered, that's holding you back kind of from a revenue standpoint. But the other thing from a cost standpoint, which is more often the case when people think about automation, comes to kind of recognizing time savings and increasing employee productivity. So there's kind of 2 layers to this on the last point. There's one which is around efficiency. So if you just have greater automation, systems are connected, you kind of don't need as much manual processes. The second part, which is kind of embedded in this, is actually employee engagement, which is not as intuitive. When you have a solution that is modern, works the way that your team and people want to work, you actually get a higher level of engagement. So the ability to have a mobile experience, which is possible with Advanced. So if you haven't turned on the mobile experience on Advanced, then you're going to want to, because it just drives greater employee engagement, and therefore you get more out of each hour of work, which kind of is additive to what you'd get anyway from the automation benefits. The final thing for you to kind of also keep in mind that we saw from some of this research was digital transformation is a journey, not a destination. It feels like it should be on a postcard from a holiday somewhere else. But the thing for us to think about is there are each of you are at a different stage of your journey. So for some of you, you're still at the automation stage. You're kind of getting off paper-based systems and starting to digitize on advanced. For some of you, you've made that first plunge, but you still have siloed systems. So you have a different system for HR, you have a different system for financial management, and potentially a different operating system. So for you, you may have moved on from automating some of those business processes, and now you're at the integrate stage. So how do you connect all the activities so you have the right data in the right places? And then kind of the holy grail, which kind of most business leaders get most excited about, is actually using that data and using that information to inform decisions. So this is where you start to get huge advantages when it comes to being able to make informed decisions of when you order inventory, kind of what is the right amount of staff for me to have on based upon kind of, it's a Wednesday, this Thursday, should we have kind of how big should the pay, how many people should be staffed based upon kind of what we've seen demand in the future. You kind of get that at the end. So once you've automated, you integrate, then you start to inform that kind of business decision making, and you kind of get there somewhat sequentially. So some people get excited by the inform and try and leapfrog. It's typically really hard. So it's almost worth recognizing where you are up to on that journey and how you kind of continue to progress. Now, if you think about the overarching advanced platform, there's kind of multiple components to it. So if we kind of reflect on some of the stuff that I've already described, and if you kind of go bottom up on this graphic, kind of all of it's hosted on AWS, so you kind of most likely already know that, but you then have kind of platform and product tools which kind of make it more capable for you to kind of create some of those integrated workflows. So some of that no-code, low-code capability which is coming is essentially across the vast majority of the solution. Then we have kind of what we're calling horizontal solutions. And this is how you'll see us continue to talk into the future, where we talk about kind of capabilities that are in that kind of marketplace or that kind of other ISVs are able to provide, which extend what we can do. Like, we don't believe that we can do everything for everybody. Anyone who does is more game than I am. But that openness is what allows us to kind of service those edge cases, because there's going to be other people out there who can create capabilities better than we can for certain applications. Then we start to go into the horizontal solutions that we provide, which are kind of business management, traditionally known as ERP, payroll, workforce management, which you'll get a demo of this afternoon, which looks awesome. And then financial services, although not in there today, is something that you'll see more of over time. So this is things like getting your invoice paid directly on the invoice, having access to kind of working capital that comes informed based upon what's in your systems. So it's just making it more and more efficient for you to kind of run your business. And then we have industry solutions, which is the area that I touched on earlier, which goes deeper than what a typical kind of solution is. And this is why we call this a business management platform relative to just an ERP. And what you should already be seeing if you're in manufacturing and construction, and less so in professional services, but coming, if you're in manufacturing, we can now help you manage your shop floor and kind of what's going on in that space, kind of how do you use MRP to kind of make sure that your kind of made to order activity is accurate and you're able to forecast kind of how things are going through the process. In construction, managing a construction project, managing kind of progress updates within the project, all of it integrated in a single system. So very much think about it as connecting what's happening on the construction site with what's happening in the office, which for many construction businesses, it's a big struggle. And you'll continue to see more and more of these over time, where we continue to go into the workflows that you would think of almost as front office, as opposed to kind of some of the others which are a little more back office. Now, most of these capabilities, for some of you may be using them, for some of you may not. Like, I think this is really an opportunity to speak with Al and his team around kind of what are the capabilities that live inside the platform that we may not be using today. So kind of, I joined MYOB, it's been a couple of years ago now, and kind of in the head of product actually this year. What blows me away is actually the breadth of the solution. So to Al's point earlier, he's going to demo some parts of it, but it's easy to quickly become out of sync with kind of what are the new capabilities. So I think continuing to share your kind of business objectives kind of with momentum, you'll be able to understand actually what else could we be using with the investment that you already make, as opposed to kind of looking for new stuff, because there's always new things being added. And just to highlight a few of these, so these are the things that are coming into the new release, and this is almost my highlights of things that got me excited. They may not get you excited, but there's different things for different people. I think The one for me that really stands out is multiple base currencies. So we really pride ourselves as being a business that helps businesses with ambition, and an ability for you to stay within a single environment, have multiple base currencies, is actually a unique capability. So this means if you have operations in Australia and New Zealand, you can roll up reporting across multiple jurisdictions and the reports make sense. You go into the US, you can kind of do something similar. So this is an incredible capability that allows you to have that same experience multi jurisdiction as you would in a single solution. The next one for those kind of who are running big warehouses, this is something that's been asked for a long period of time. Paperless picking is now available, and you can kind of see a demo if you like. For us, this continues to just automate, continues to take out those time lags between when the information kind of gets from the warehouse kind of into the office. So this kind of means that when you're running that e-commerce website, so you know exactly what inventory is in there because you have kind of paperless picking it's supporting in the back. Personalized configuration for those kind of power users out there who kind of know exactly how they would want some of the things configured and showing up. You now have the capability to do that. So kind of continuing to support those power users with what's possible. And then finally, just continuing to touch on those integrations. So continuing to invest behind some of those CRM capabilities. So you're now able to kind of send emails at volumes through that integration that we now have with SendGrid, and you can read more about it. One of the other areas that I do want to touch on is kind of how do you get access to these capabilities? So deployments and updates are something that we have definitely front of mind, because that is the way that we get the solutions into your hands as fast and as pain-free as possible. And our objective is to continue to make that process easier and easier every time. So we won't say that we have it perfect today, but each time I can confidently say that we're kind of getting better and better and making it more seamless. And one of the things you'll start to see in this cycle is kind of in-product notifications to make sure that you're aware when the upgrade is coming and kind of how you prepare so that you don't kind of have any surprises when that upgrade occurs. Plus, to be really honest, like connecting with what's coming in that upgrade is also how you make sure that you're getting the most out of the investment that you've already made. So I think better transparency, better predictability, and better reliability. That image is a little bit small, so I won't go into it too much detail, but Al will give you some of that information a little later on. And then the final thought that I kind of wanted to leave you with, and it might be a little bit weird for a technology business to say, don't think of us first, but I think this is how you maximize the investment that you will be you make with us. And it's very much to think about, if you think about the point I made earlier in terms of digital transformation is a journey, not a destination. The other thing in terms of making that successful digital transformation is actually thinking business first and then technology. So what's critical and what we see in kind of customers who are successful and customers who may be less so is understanding what are the business objectives that you are trying to achieve. Where are you trying to go? Is it opening up an e-commerce capability? Is it going into multiple jurisdictions? Is it digitizing your warehouse so that you kind of have better inventory management to enable better visibility or lower working capital? It's really important for you to know what success looks like and what you're driving in your business first, and having that abundantly clear to help underwrite why you're making the investment to enhance your solution. Once you have that, then you look at the technology. The technology is fundamentally just an enabler for you to kind of achieve your ambitions in your business. Now, for the vast majorities of case, that's the case. Connecting with what's happening in the technology sphere is helpful, so you kind of understand and it can spur ideas from a business perspective. But for me, it's kind of the most critical aspect is being business first and then technology second. So with that, I think I'm running to time, but Al hasn't given me the wrap up, so I will kind of, Al, if it's okay, did we want to go to Q&A?
Yes, thanks, Valantis. So yeah, we'll just pause for a second there, and if any of the folks on the session have got any questions for Valantis, feel free to unmute or raise your hand and fire away. We might move on to our next presenter, and much appreciated, Valantis, very informative for everybody. So thank you for your time today.
No worries. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate the time.
So just moving on to the upgrade process, I want to touch quickly on that. We're running 2 or 3 minutes behind schedule, so we do want to stay on track. There are some changes coming up next year to make the major upgrade process a bit more predictable and a bit less disruptive. I guess a couple of key points is, in the past, the major upgrade of MYOB Advanced, which happened once a year, was actually a combination of 2 major upgrades that Acumatica developed prior to that. And even though MYOB Advanced is quite a mature product, it's a rapidly developing product. So combining 2 major upgrades into one was a hell of a lot of change for the product, for ourselves to manage, and also for customers to even understand. So it was a challenge to, I guess, communicate what all the changes were, what all the new features are, and how you can even use them, let alone just get through the upgrade process without disruption. So the intention is to make that more predictable and less disruptive going forward. And so the proposed change is that there will be 2 major upgrades per year, 6 months apart, and customers will be put into a cohort which determines the months that those upgrades will occur. And that upgrade will be whichever major upgrade was available at that time, plus any cumulative patches or minor upgrades that were also needed. Now, the advantage of that is that the volume of changes is a little lower. The ability to manage those changes and test them and go through the upgrade process is somewhat less disruptive. And you can also know some months in advance when it's going to happen. So historically, there has been a lot of rescheduling and reshuffling of when upgrades were occurring. So that's been a challenge. So it's certainly something that MYOB have been very conscious of improving. And in addition to that, improving the outbound communications around, what's changing, when's it happening, et cetera, which will always be a combination of MYOB plus momentum, because whilst they're managing the platform and the product, we're managing integrations, customizations, automations that have been done that might need to be tweaked or refined to be compatible. So I'm just going to move on from that. We'll be sending more information out about the new upgrade process to everybody in due course. And so, yeah, the intention is to have ample time to have access to a sandbox to do testing, should you need to do testing, and particularly if you have integrations or customizations, you do need to test, and that's the case with any ERP platform. So I think the new process going forward will be better. And, that's both MYOB's intention and our intention is to make it more predictable and less disruptive for everybody. Okay, next we have Nicholas, and he's going to be taking us through some of the new features of interest from the last major upgrade, 2021.1. And I guess we're trying to focus on areas that would be generally of interest to the people on this session, irrespective of the industry or the version of Advanced that they're running. So I'll hand over to you, Nick.
As I mentioned, which when you couldn't see, I have the global search, which is essentially the Google of MYOB Advanced. If I search it through all of the menu items, and we can go in and see all of the transactional records, customers, invoices, products. And what's been added in 2020.1 is the search history for the recent documents. If I click this icon next to that search, I get all of the transactional records and screens that I have recently accessed. So if you've come back and you need to go reconnect back into the last purchase order you were in, the last customer, all those records there to be easily found. And once you're in this screen, searching here will further filter down records in your history that include those terms. got the option here to filter by the various types of records. So if I'm looking specifically for a customer, click on customers there. AR documents. Now, if you're working on, say, a large project, frequently going into that project record or a customer record, clicking the star next to those records in this history will add them to the frequently accessed documents. In much the same way that you can use the favourites on the regular menu to add favourites for frequently accessed menus. Another one of the changes this version is if we go to the sales order screen, we open one of these sales orders. We make it a little bit easier for you to identify which transaction record you're on. You see in the header now, we have a full list of a description of the records, so sales order number and the related customer. Time to look for those records, all those values down in the header. Another change to the actions that you progress a sales order through. The actions have always been here under the menu, but what you find now is often the next logical step in this transaction will show as an action directly on the header, which gives you a guided process to go through, which makes it slightly faster. So if I put this on hold, the next logical step is to take it off hold, and then we'll create a shipment. And from there, confirm the shipment is the next step. So it just makes that whole logical flow of actions within your workflow run through a lot smoother. That all falls within the new workflow engine, which is a functionality within Advanced that allows you to view and customize the workflows various processes go through. So from the sales order screen here, if I look at the state diagram, this is going to show me the workflow for a sales order. So here we can see the various stages and workflows that an order can potentially go through in the sales order process. These same workflows are throughout the system, so for invoicing, customer processing, and can be customized by us or yourself to allow different business flows to be replicated within Advanced. We can also set different actions to be available within specific steps of this workflow. It just gives you clarity as to how things align. I might now go to our business accounts screen. So within Advanced, your customers and suppliers all fall within business accounts along with prospects. Now, a business account can be either a customer or a supplier, and potentially both. You're going to transact with have one record for that entity, whether you're buying and selling from. From this screen, if I select a record, we'll see this quick access menu down the right hand side. Allows me to have a quick snapshot of the various activities with that company. Here, sales orders, this brings a pop-out menu showing key sales details for this customer. And from here, I can drill further down. You can see here are a couple of orders that are past their shipment date. These have been highlighted in red, indicating that they need some attention. I can click directly on that sales order, open as a pop-up, and we could action that from here. In addition to sales orders, we can open up the customer's card in the side panel to make some quick changes. Also load it up to full screen if I wanted to see more details on that customer. So we could view the receivables information for that customer, see the account status. And this is great. This whole workflow of side panels is customizable and extendable. You can put these alongside any of your data screens or generic inquiries. So if you have specific details you want to quickly access from the customer list or the sales order list, they can easily be added into this workflow as well, just to streamline your processes and give you relevant information quickly accessible. Another enhancement in the new release has been the addition of a couple of standard dashboards. These finance dashboards, some of our clients had custom versions of these added previously, but they've now been added standard as part of the upgraded release. I'll be going over this in the next training session later on in the call, but essentially these dashboards allow you to have a range of relevant information specific to various operations in your business. And get to, now, these dashboards will come from various data and systems through generic inquiries, but one of the recent enhancements to the dashboard screen would be these will actually cache. So the first time you run this dashboard, it will maybe take a little bit longer to load, but then if you're loading the dashboard again within a certain time period, it will bring up the pre-cached values of these widgets, which are the name of these sections. And finally, one of the features I want to cover off that is, again with this version, is the intercompany sales orders and purchase orders. Within Advanced, there's always been intercompany GL transactions, allowing you to transact between related companies within the same tenant. However, now, if you've got two companies that transact with each other held within the same Advanced tenant, we can have a sales order in a sales company automatically create a relating purchase order within the corresponding wholesale company. If I go for our sales orders. So within our demonstration company, I've got a company here, Rapid Bite, and I've set Demo 2 as their other company who Rapid Bite will purchase from, or sell to, sorry. Demo 2 are going to buy from Rapid Bite. So in this case, the company within Advanced is actually a customer as well, and we've made the corresponding other company a supplier. So that's still the same entity. One record, this is the same. There's not duplicates here. We've extended the customer, the branch or the company to become a customer. I'm just going to choose a product from our stock list here. Now we've got that sales order in the system and generate an intercompany purchase. Essentially, this will allow you to then create that purchase, and we can have those scheduled on a recurring job or an automation that would automatically create those purchase orders for you just to allow a little bit of seamless integration between the two entities. Yeah. Oh, I'm being told that that's time for me. So did anyone have any questions? All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Nick. Back to me. So yeah, next we have Joe. Joe is going to provide an overview of the new workforce management module. So quick question that comes to mind is, what is workforce management? It's really most of the end-to-end life cycle of a customer. So from onboarding a new, sorry, not a customer, an employee, onboarding a new employee into your system, seamlessly and putting them into the payroll through that onboarding process, being able to roster them and record their time worked, having that go through award interpretation for calculation of overtime and allowances through to payroll. Probably the only thing I wouldn't call it just yet is an HR module with performance management, performance reviews, but just about everything else. So I'll hand over to Jo, and she'll take you through the key aspects of MYOB workforce management.
Afternoon, everybody. Just going to share this screen here. Okay, so the first thing we see when we log on to our workforce management is our overall company dashboard that gives us all of our alerts and things that we need to pay a note of. And it also tells us across the company who is actually working at the moment, who has been rostered to work and who has finished work for the day. And we have these little widgets down here that compare the current week to the previous week as far as hours, count of employees and employee costs go. We can also see the amount of time that our employees are actually on time, late or haven't shown up. Because we haven't got any clocking on and off happening regularly on our system, it does say that we had 74 people not show up to work, but hopefully that is not the case for Momentum. At the top left-hand corner, we have something similar to the company and tenant drop-down that you have in Advanced. So we can switch in here in between different branches. Based upon your access, you may only have one or more branches that you can access within the workforce management. So that is restricted by employee security. So if I jump into the receiving branch, you can see that automatically it's dropped down the requests for an expense, and we've now only got 15 timesheets and we have 22 shifts that haven't been published yet. It also then shows you only employees that are on shift in the current branch. If I drop down to Melbourne, we'll see that straight away nobody's currently working in Melbourne. And then all of these metrics change depending on which company you're actually in. So the biggest feature, I think, for advanced payroll users in particular would be the onboarding. So onboarding, as you know, in Advanced is quite a time-consuming process. By the time you've added an employee card, then created the pay details, it is quite a long process. So in the workforce management, we can actually put that data entry into the employee's hands, and they go through a really simple process on a web browser or on a phone, and they fill in all of that information that you would normally have to populate in several places in Advanced Payroll. So if I enter in some details here. What we're doing here is sending the employee an invitation to fill out a form to apply for, to fill out their information for a role that we've offered them. We can select any position from this drop-down list. So we might put in finance manager, working at our Melbourne dispatch, and they're going to be a manager. So that permission group level just allows them to log on to the workforce management. And if they are at a manager level and they have employees underneath their management, they'll be able to see those employees' details and to be able to see their roster and timesheets. Make it full-time on 150,000 a year. 26 hours a day, 5 days a week. You can choose who they are reporting to, which anyone from this list, and their commencement date, which we'll put down as next week. So there are custom documents that you can upload into each individual invitation. So if you had a particular contract that was specific to the employee, you would upload that during the onboarding process. But we also have what we call onboarding profiles, whereby you may have a copy of a workplace agreement or an award that goes with a particular type of role. You can have as many onboarding templates as you like. They can have custom messages in the body of those. They can have custom documents attached to them. And then you still get the option of adding this individual document for your employee as well. So if we send that off. So we'll wait for that email to come through. And while we do that, oh, won't do that until I actually select someone. This is like when you type something wrong on a form and they take all your credit card details out. Manager. I've done all of that for me. That's good. Just open this in a different tab and check out onboarding. So you can view the onboarding status. So in the case where we've just taken a look at the onboarding there and we've sent the form off. So it says here that it has actually invited. So it said that it didn't complete, but it did complete. So we don't need to go back and do that again. So if we go into our onboarding profiles, you can see we've only got one in here, and we've got a custom message that goes out with these placeholders, which are listed down the side, that just give an introductory message. It's pretty generic, but it will replace the company and the branch, their role, salary, start date, etc. And then this is where we would upload their award or their EBA, and then you can have just a statement or footer at the bottom regarding confidentiality. You can then just go through and add as many of these profiles as you like. So if you had a different profile for each type of employee, then we would add in all of those different profiles for you. And then you would just select which profile you're actually doing based upon the actual employee positions. So these can be applicable to a location or to an individual position within the company. Okay, so we've got our onboarding email. So as the employee, we now go through this process here to say that, yes, this is the information that I've got, that's my role, and I agree to start this process. Going to gather my information and I give consent for that to be used by the company. So we have the option of requiring an identification document and proof of residency status. So they are optional. In this case, I'm just going to say that, yes, I am a citizen. You do not have to upload that document if we haven't made it required, but in some industries, we do have that as a requirement. Licenses and tickets and qualifications, you can actually have the employee add in their driver's licenses, for example. And and then upload our driver's license as well. And what that will do is it will store it on the employee's record. So if they've got a white card or a blue card or any other qualification or license that is relevant to their role, as long as they're entering that expiry date and the type, then we can get a report on expiring licenses as well. So I'm just going to say that we've applied for a tax file number. We're full-time. So this does all of the questions that are required by Single Touch Payroll on their declaration form. Which, as you know, can be daunting for somebody who hasn't worked before. So then they sign that declaration. Every time they sign a declaration, it says the date and time stamp and the IP address that it came from. So that will always be kept in their onboarding details. Bob Smith, thank you. You can see it does actually pick up the bank name when you put in the BSB number. So if that is an invalid BSB number, it won't let them proceed. The same with tax file numbers, that it does actually validate them as you go. Now, I don't know my super fund, so I'm skipping that at the moment. You can see that these are outlined in red, so we do have to put in our contact details for our next of kin. And then it shows us that employment agreement that we actually uploaded during that process. And we do have to say that we have read it and we agree to it. And then we say that everything here is true and correct. And then the last document that we added into there shows on the very last page. And we can submit that. So what happens now is the employee gets some information saying that they have been successfully onboarded. And then when we go into our onboarding status, we will see that we have now completed the onboarding in here. So if we go across now to our advanced onboarding, you can see that we have actually onboarded a new employee, number 47 here. And that employee goes straight into advanced. So at the moment, they are set as inactive. So there are defaults that are set up in advanced people, and it may be that the pay group is not what you need, or it may be that you need to change a posting class, or say that they're entitled to leave loading. So there are some settings that you can change on here, but for the most part, those defaults are fairly good. So if we mark him now as onboarded and active, and that employee can have their standard pay set up now. In the case that we've got here at the moment, we don't actually have the superannuation fund in there because we have no super funds in our advanced tenant. But if I had provided superannuation details and a fund, it would add that super guarantee line into that standard pay for you. And all you really need to do is add in your leave accruals. So that's probably as quick as it can possibly get as far as advanced goes. So that does all of those employee screens. And then some of you will probably notice that the pay groups has actually been moved into a tab here, but it does populate that pay group for you and adds in all of their pay information. Okay, go back to here. Okay, so as far as timesheet processing goes, each time you get unprocessed timesheets, they will show up the top here. If we click on those timesheets and process these timesheets to the payroll, this will be only for the Melbourne branch. So we can select the entire company by selecting that upper parent company. And then there's an approval process to go through, which you can delegate out to different logons or different managers, whereby the time actually has to be approved first. So you can see these entries here that have a red line. If we click on that, you'll see that I have multiple clock in and clock out entries. So that would be a little bit of an alert for the person that's doing the payroll. In a normal system where people are clocking in and out regularly, you would have that as a blocker so that somebody had to go in and say what was the correct time that the employee worked. But for the sake of our demo, we've let those go through. So we can approve all of those time entries. There are quite a few. And they need to be authorised by the management and then committed to the payroll. So normally the last process would be for your payroll officer to come through here and add them into a pay run. So we're going to say pay test. Okay, so from there, when we go into advanced and we go into our timesheet batches, if we say import external timesheets, that will pick up our external timesheet. Now, if I just sort this. So if we have a look at our pay test, you can see that in these pays, all of the mapping is already done. Every employee in workforce management has your external employee ID. So if we have a look at these external references, they are all of our MYOB Advanced people employee IDs. So they automatically map through. So when we are doing all of our mapping between workforce management and advanced, we do all of that mapping in the background of the workforce management so that all of these pay items and all of the employees already match up. There's no need to go through and do your validation on your timesheet. And then as we go into our pay run, you can have employees in a pay timesheet batch that are from different pay groups. And then when you bring them into this screen here, they'll only bring through whichever ones are relevant to the pay that you're doing.
Worth mentioning, you know, that's going to be an award interpreted pay.
Correct.
So with the calculation of any overtime or additional allowances that might apply based on the pay rules. Yep.
Correct. So if we have a quick look, and I won't delve too much into pay rules because it's something that you could probably spend an entire day on. Every type of employee can have a different payroll group or award. And then we can have different rules for different dates on these. So if we added another rule in here, for example, you can base that rule on working on specific days where they haven't met their normal contracted hours and you're wanting to pay them at a different rate for that or a different pay code. If they're exceeded a number of hours in a period. So for example, if you have an employee who works a 38-hour week, and they worked 48 hours. You can either say, well, if it's over that, let's give them time in lieu accrual, or you can say if it's over that, we're not actually going to pay them, but for fatigue management, we have to record that time, then we can select the item to record that as. We can also utilise pay tags. So if, for example, there are allowances that an employee gets if they have a particular tag. So, for example, if they're entitled to a first aid allowance or something like that, and they have that tag against their employee card, then obviously we can say pay this allowance if they have that tag. On a public holiday, if they've worked a public holiday or if they haven't worked a public holiday, there are hundreds of combinations of pay rules that you can put to interpret your payroll. You can also base it on the location. So if it has a specific location or cost centre, so for example, if an employee has a different role in a different cost centre, then you can pay at a different rate. You can also tell the system to top their hours up. So if they've only clocked on and off for 30 hours and they're a permanent employee, that would increase their hours up to 38. The other area that people quite like are these ability to send an employee a document. So if, for example, it's a site plan for a job that you're going on and everybody needs to read the safety plan, for example, we can send those out to either a group of employees or a single employee. So we can send that out to everybody in the Sydney Dispatch branch. We can send it out to all of the managers, or we can send it to individual employees. And we can add as many employees in here as we want. So if I, then I've already sent it to myself. Josh Fraser. We can then request a signature to be added to that. So that requires them to acknowledge that they have actually read that document and they understand that. And then once that has been done, it will be stored on their account prior to their employee profile. And you also get a status of what documents have not actually been sent back yet. So you'll be able to see that we have one unsigned document being sent to Joshua Fraser. So the employee app that comes along with the workforce management is really quite responsive. We have the ability to clock in and out on the app if you so please. That's an option for you. It does actually do a geo stamp so that you know where they are when they're clocking in and out, so they can't clock in and out from down the pub without being found out. You also have the ability to use a built-in clock, which can be used either on a PC like this or can be on a tablet in a particular area of the company. And if I clock out on here, 90469, every employee gets a 4-digit code. So if I clock out now, it'll say my shift has ended. I can also go on a break. So if I clock back in again and clock in, I can clock off onto a break, and it will record my break times on those rosters as well. So if I clock back in and end my break.
1 minute, Joe.
Yeah.
One minute remaining, that is.
Oh, 1 minute remaining. I thought you wanted me to wait for 1 minute. Okay, so you can clock in and out on the app as well. So if I say clock in, it will ask me all of these questions that you can set up. That can be for safety or for COVID, but we won't worry about doing that in. You also have a shift assessment, whether or not you are happy with your shift. We can apply for leave on this screen here as well. So if I put in leave for annual leave for the following week, it'll tell me how many hours I will have available after that leave and how many I have available now. You can also set up recurring leave, but hopefully none of our employees have recurring leave. So if we submit that, and as soon as we come back into our workforce management, into our leave, just wait for that to sync through, that will come straight into here. So we'll have annual leave and it be pending, and that will show you then what leave we actually have left, and you can edit that information and edit the dates as well.
Thank you, Joe. We're running a little behind schedule, so apologies to cut you off there, but hopefully you've seen a good preview of some of the capability of MYOB Workforce Management. It's not all of it. It will integrate with your advanced payroll module now, so it's available to use for any of our existing advanced customers who are using advanced payroll, and integrates out of the box. So we're going to take a 10-minute break. So stretch your legs, make a cup of tea, and we'll see you back shortly. I'll start the timer. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to have a quick stretch of the legs, and we are running probably about 15 minutes behind. Actually, we're not too bad. So yeah, about 15 minutes, but we think the content's relevant for you. We do want to introduce some of our MYOB Advanced team for you right now. Obviously, some of them are on site. We've got people located in all kinds of geographical areas, but this is the entire advanced team. We have Christian, who's currently based in Indonesia and moving down to Australia shortly. Philip, Glenda, Tarek, Nicholas, who was on the training session a little while ago, Joe, Blair, Nicola, Janine, Ishan. We have Kathy, one of our payroll specialists, and tech team, Steve and Action. So any of those that are on the call with us, feel free to turn your camera on and say g'day. Obviously, it's nice for our customers to put a face to the name. Okay, so our next session is a training session where Nick's, I guess, going to go into a little bit more detail on a couple of things that we think customers can do themselves, and if they can do them themselves, they'll have you know, some really useful tools that they can use. You don't really need to take notes, just observe. We are recording the session, so you'll be able to look at the video if you need a reminder on how to do these couple of things that Nick's going to show you. So I'll hand over to Nick now.
So the first thing I'm going to touch on today is the business event functionality. Business events are a relatively new thing in Advanced, which essentially allow you to trigger an action or an alert to go out either internally or externally based on something that happens in the system. These can be relatively simple to set up or can have sort of complex logic behind them. But in an example here, if I have a look at a sales order, now obviously a customer can have a sales order that goes on hold due to credit hold, and we're going to want to alert someone to the fact of that. So that might go to your accounts department to say a sales order has been placed for Momentum Software are over their credit limit. This needs you to go and investigate, make a phone call, progress from there. So if I put an order in here for this company, we'll see I get a warning that the credit limit's been exceeded and the order goes to a status credit hold. Now at this stage that would rely on someone coming in, seeing that an order was on credit hold and having the authority to release that. But if I look here at tools and business events, now this is going to create an event or look at events that exist specifically for the sales order screen. So coming in here, no events exist at the moment. I'll create a new event. I'll just call it credit hold. The credit hold notification. So there are two parts to this really. The first part is the trigger as to what's going to trigger this notification to occur. And then the subscribers are really the action that will occur when these triggers are met. So if I come in here, I'm going to say where the new field value on the document and the status is equal to credit hold. So there are a number of things you could do here with regards to field changes, old values, new values, but this is the most basic one. But we're saying when a sales order has the value credit hold, trigger this subscriber action. Now these subscriber actions can be email notifications, they can be mobile push or SMS, and they can also trigger import scenarios, which can basically trigger workflows and other actions to update within Advanced. But in this case, we're going to have an email notification, and I've created an email template called credit hold. So we'll use that. So with that in place now, I'm going to finish creating my order. So here we've got an order in the system. Obviously it's gone to credit hold, and in the background now, this business event will trigger typically within 30 seconds, typically less than a minute of that occurring. Now if I look at this subscriber, which is the credit hold notification, we'll see it set here to be sent to a specific person. From the standard email account, it's going to say sales order reference has gone to credit hold, and is going to give some basic information to that person in your accounts department so that they can call to action. We can include a link in that email so they can click on that, be taken directly to the sales order and release it or make actions from there. But you see, because I've got this attach activity ticked, what this means is when that event does trigger, it's going to attach as an activity on this sales order. So we can see that this notification has been sent. I can open that. And like you saw, this has come across with that template. Here's the order number, this is the customer, and this is the order amount. So there's really no limits to where those business events can be used. It can be on sales orders, purchase orders, where a certain user or group or user with a certain level of authority is raising a purchase order for over a certain value. Or the possibilities are quite endless, and someone at Momentum will be quite happy to help you create any of those as required.
And it's worth mentioning that those types of email or SMS alerts can be external. So events on a sales order could actually inform the customer of goods being shipped or other communications related to the dispatch process.
Quite right. So we've had examples of this where this is used, where a shipment is confirmed and a tracking number has been added to that shipment. We can add a live tracking link to the email notifying the customer the order's been sent, and obviously providing them a trackable web link for businesses that are sending high volumes, perhaps e-commerce deliveries. Or anything else. If you've got a particular customer that wants to have alerts sent to their seniors if for any large orders are being placed in their account, again, another potential solution for this. So I'm going to cover dashboards next. Did anyone have any questions on the business events at this stage?
I can see there's a question from Patricia in the chat that can many actions be allocated to the same order to trigger? So the answer to that is yes. You can have multiple events associated with the same transaction, triggering based on different actions occurring or different stages happening within that transaction. Carry on, Nick.
Cool. The next part we're going to look at is the dashboards. As I mentioned earlier in the session, these financial controller, ARAP and controller dashboards are standard in the latest release of Advanced. Now they obviously come with various nice features, some which may or may not be relevant to what you would like a particular user to see. But we can use these as a good base to create dashboards specifically relevant to your business. There is a role called dashboard designer, which you can give certain employees that you want to be able to create the company-wide dashboards. But a user can also, without that role, copy an existing dashboard and modify it for their own internal use. So it's quite a flexible option, and we can also allow a particular dashboard to be made the home page of an individual user. Each of these dashboards can also be assigned different roles to allow access. Obviously, the data behind these can be further restricted to who can access it, but we can say only the financial controller or the administrator role can access this controller dashboard, for example. And the same thing for a manufacturing or production dashboard. Yeah, you see in our demo system, we've created a number of other dashboards here, specific to various other operational roles. If I go into this production dashboard, you see a neat feature here is a connection to a external site, which is actually going to give us a web link video to your job site, or this might be your production floor. Just another one of those options. This web link could just be to an external website relevant to your business. If I look at back to our controller and click the design here, you see we've got a range of different things. These sort of KPI widgets are showing various numbers, and we'll color code based on whether that's a good number or a number that requiring attention. Graphs of various forms. And if I look at editing one of these, you see a new function we've got here. The scorecard is basically green, essentially green, orange, red. So that traffic light system, good, average, bad. But if we change this to a meter, you'll see it's a little small there. But essentially we'll get a dial showing where on the scale that number is sitting, and that may give you a better indication of average days overdue, or some other particular figure you would like to track. So all of these widgets are tied into a generic inquiry within Advanced. So that's where the figures are being derived from. We can help you create new generic inquiries for specific purposes, or you can choose some of the existing generic inquiries within the system to derive data from. So if I go in here and we want to create a new widget, you see here I can choose a section on the screen and choose one of these different types of widgets. The pivot tables are also a very useful function if you've seen those before, which essentially allow us to run an Excel style pivot table directly from a generic inquiry and use those pivot data on a dashboard. We look at the opportunities here. I'm just going to create a quick pivot there. We've got on here the opportunities summary. So here you see a breakdown of the opportunities we've got in the CRM module, their values at various stages. So it wouldn't allow me to edit. There's the right screen there. So for that screen, we've got three different pivots, the opportunity summary, which I just showed you, and there's also the opportunities by geography. Technical issue there. Move on for that one. Just not letting me add that, but that is essentially what allow you to see that pivot in there. And we can copy this entire dashboard to make additional copies, or copy these individual widgets between dashboards. And if I look here at the dashboard's profiles, you see that controller dashboard we were talking about, where it's located on the screen, and which roles would be allowed access. So we see in this case, the controller dashboard has only been set for permissions for the system administrator. So anyone else wouldn't have access to view this dashboard. It's also possible for these dashboards to be made available on the mobile app. The mobile apps are dynamically responsive apps, so these can be easily added and make it a useful space where people on the road or on the field can get out and see your data.
I think that's good, Nick. I mean, takeaways that customers might have is dashboards are not that difficult to create. You probably just need to allow yourself a bit of time, and we would recommend copying one before if you're planning on changing an existing one, copy it first, so that way if you break it, you don't lose your original. You can obviously do things in your test system as well. So they're not technically that difficult. You just need to set aside some time and have a bit of a go at it. And obviously you can call us if you bump into anything that you need a bit of help on. So next up, as good as MYOB Advanced is, it doesn't do everything. But there's a lot of solutions in the market that integrate beautifully with Advanced thanks to its APIs. And Brian is going to take you through half a dozen of the more commonly used solutions in our client base. So I'll hand over to you now, Brian.
Thanks, Alistair. Thanks, Nick. Afternoon all. I think I'm last on the agenda, last but not least. The sales department. You can all see the screen, I gather. Al, all good? So, yes, talking about the add-ons to MYOB Advanced. There's a whole swather of them, and they all come from what they call ISVs, independent software providers. So, independent software providers are encouraged to go out and actually create add-ons to bolt onto MYOB Advanced using the APIs. This slide here is showing you the different types of different areas. You've got productivity tools, solutions for industry, including the retail side of things, BI reporting, and module extensions. A whole heap of them. If you log on to that site, MYOB App Store, you'll then find a whole lot all these add-ons available for the MYOB Advanced one. So I'm just going to go through the few of them. So the next one, the first one is Velixo. Some of you may have heard of Velixo before. It's a add-on that sits inside Excel, which is wonderful stuff for everybody who knows Excel, who uses Excel all the time. It actually becomes a ribbon in the system with MYOB Advanced. It links then directly into MYOB Advanced, allowing you to pull data or link data directly to the GL, to any projects, And again, any GIs, generic inquiry, as Nick was mentioning before. So a GI is a table to data in the system. You then link that table then and again into MS Excel and have it go across. And then of course, then you can do all your graphics and bar charts around it. So it allows you to have access to the data without having to use a login to the system. The other good news about Valixo is that as of January, it's going to be included in the package. The MYOB are including Valixo. Just 2 basic reports come with it. It's a standard Valixo connection, but it's coming standard with the package as of January the 1st. Next one is LYNQ. So LYNQ is a MES software, which is a manufacturing execution system. Again, very powerful if you're running the manufacturing side of MYOB Advanced, Manufacturing Edition with MRP. This MES system allows you to monitor and analyze and improve your production side of things, facilities. It's actually, go to the next slide, shows you the different areas. So basically on the planning side, setting up your scheduling, your tracking, what's happening on the factory floor. You can do automation. You can actually attach machines or output from machines back to the software to record the automation side of it, then analyzing that output, then going back and optimizing your workflows or work centers on the actual MYOB Advanced. So basically, it's plug and play with Advanced. It connects with 140 different machines at the moment out there. You've got those connectors with, and integrates with other applications. Again, very powerful. The visual look at the manufacturing floor for MYOB Advanced on the manufacturing side. Next cab off the rank is Evexo. Again, some of you may already be using Evexo or heard of it. So Evexo is part of your warehouse management systems, WMS. Warehouse management allows you then to have your picking and packing, receiving, dispatch, pack, put away, pack, put into pallets, put into boxes, linking back to your freight companies, all through handheld devices, and makes the stock dispatch area so much more efficient. Stuff like goods receiving, say put away, even got your replenishment as well, the stock checking, it's got the picking cycle, packaging and palleting, tracking the pallets on the floor, delivery management and loading as well. Again, a very powerful add-on to the warehouse management system in Advanced. Next one is Easy Collect. Once again, a lot of you would have heard of Easy Collect. Easy Collect has been around a while. It's there to help you get money from your customers. So it logs onto the system. You can automate it to go and send out emails to customers who are delinquent. So basically the general email for 7 days, the one for 14 days, and the one for 3 months. And then on that email, you can actually send how to pay. The customer can click on that, they can pay straight away and get your money through the bank. So it also increases cash flow, and then it makes the payment by the customer so much easier. And they've also got the credit checking side of it as well. So next slide shows you, so they've got automated collections with the email like that. It's got the online payment portal and the credit risk insights, showing you what you've got on the books and what risk you have with your customers, and going back and looking at their credit risk as well.
Probably just worth quickly mentioning, Brian, sorry to interrupt, is that the online payments part of Easy Collect, which is known as Simply Pay, that can be used standalone, that service. And basically what it does, it will put a hyperlink in your invoice that is sent from your MYOB Advanced system. The customer can then click on that link. It will open up a web portal where they can pay that invoice via credit card or direct funds transfer. And it will write that payment back into your MYOB Advanced system and apply it to the invoice without you entering anything. So that in itself is a really good value add for businesses with particularly a bit of volume on the accounts receivable side.
Yeah, it's valuable. Absolutely valuable. I've got a lot of clients with a lot of volume, and it takes away all the pain. I say the cash flow improvement is fantastic. Next one down is Trialed. trailed. This looks now at accounts payable automation and payment protection. So it actually uses OCR, which is the optical character recognition features. So a invoice from a supplier would be emailed to an email account. It would be picked up through OCR, and the OCR would then go and extract information off the invoice and put it to your system. And then for the payment side of things, it'll go through to an approval process. I will first of all approve the invoice and then approve the payment. Then further down the track, the payments then go and track then or double check that the invoice for duplication. It'll verify ABNs or valid ABNs. So it looks for any bogus invoices coming in from suppliers and make sure they are correct invoices are not being fraudulently given to you. The
Touch on that one as well.
yes, yeah, but yes, please, Al.
Is the fraud prevention that's available in Trailed, which is quite superior to a lot of the other accounts payable automation solutions. So a common way that fraud occurs is an email with an invoice attached is intercepted and the bank details on the PDF invoice are changed. That invoice is then emailed to the client, yourself, entered. The bank details on the invoice or the supplier are different, so therefore, oh, they must have changed bank accounts. You change it. And then potentially pay that money to somebody in Nigeria. What Trail does is detects if the bank details on an invoice are different to the bank details you already have recorded against that supplier, and will give the ability to check. And then when you do a creditor payment run, it will then analyze your ABA file and compare again if the bank details on your payment to the supplier are different to your historical bank details for previous payment runs you've done. So it really adds a quite comprehensive fraud protection layer around your accounts payable process that other accounts payable automation systems don't do. They're all good at doing the OCR and getting the transaction into the system and having an approval. Trail just adds another level of sophistication around that.
Correct, yes. And that today's of having ETE commerce, invoices coming in via the email, it's invaluable. Thanks, Al. The next one is a company called BIMSA International, a USA-based company. They have basically three offerings. The main offering is the BEAM offering, which is a maintenance asset level maintenance prevention and management system. So companies that have a vast number of assets need to take care of, i.e. machinery or buildings or plant, etc., can have their assets taken care of in the BEAM system, linking back into MYOB Advanced. So it's got the asset management side, it tracks the usage of the asset, it has scheduled servicing on the asset. It allows you to have like a field service of going out and maintaining the asset then and updating the data around those assets in the BEAM system. The other two options are what they call the DMS. This is a quality management system. So again, a vast, in-depth quality management system that can be added onto Advanced. And the other one is EBA, which is a electronic documents, but on steroids. So you can actually have digitizing your system and workflow using the EBA documents throughout the entire system, all add-ons onto MYOB Advanced. So get rid of paper and digitize the business. And coming up to the last one is NetStock. Again, NetStock's been around a while, so you may have heard of it before. It's an add-on to obviously your inventory side of things. Allows you to analyze your inventory as to the slow stock and the fast-moving stock and the GP levels required on stock, and affects you then to have your stock holding be minimized and for the best stock holding to suit your sales on forecasting. And of course, then obviously price changing, price manipulation around the stock, stuff like, again, also central procurement and distribution. Then it boils down into the raw material and manufacturing side of things, and of course the ordering side as well from your suppliers. That's the last one. So that's, just a small sample of the add-ons available in MYOB Advanced. So if you go onto the MYOB website, you'll find there's a good 50 or 60 add-ons to MYOB Advanced. And that's back to Alistair.
Thanks, Brian. Important to note with the ISV solutions and the add-ons, in many cases, Advanced has similar functionality. So, for example, Nick's already shown us dashboards and pivot tables in MYOB Advanced. You can do OData feeds into Excel yourself. Valixo just takes that to the next level. Link MES would be another example. MYOB Advanced has a very strong manufacturing module. Link MES just adds another level of sophistication to the scheduling and the shop floor data collection and downtime measurement, things like that. NetStock, similarly, Advanced does have a quite good inventory replenishment algorithms and MRP for manufacturing. What NetStock does is add the ability to forecast within that or build a container for items and, based on their volume. So they just have a lot more sophistication than what you would get out of the box. And we're always happy to talk to you about what we would recommend, whether we think standard features are going to fit or whether you need a more sophisticated solution via an ISV. So I'll just pause there and summarise what we've covered today. So we had Valantis from MYOB updating us on digitisation in the mid-market and what's happening with the platform going forward. We had Nick covering off a number of the new features of the 2020.1 major release. We had Joe take us through the MYOB workforce management solution that integrates with advanced payroll. Then we've had Nick with a training session on using the business events feature, as well as how to modify and create your own dashboards. So hopefully you find that useful. And Brian's captured some of the key ISV solutions that are available in the market. So you can look up the MYOB app marketplace, or you can just come and ask us and we'll point you in the right direction. Any other questions we're happy to field?
Al, Scott Smith here, just with the workforce management system. We're actually going through the implementation phase at the moment. My understanding is we'll put the workforce management probably into a phase 2 thing, but with the payroll, we still can do the new payroll employees details and things like leave requests on the mobile app through payroll. It's just that we can't do scheduling and agreement interpretation and things like that. So is that correct still? That's what we've been led to believe through the process. So we can still do leave and and employee details, things like that.
Through the payroll, an employee cannot onboard themselves, but once they're already entered in the payroll, they can update basic details. So if they've changed address, email address, bank details, they can do all of that through standard payroll employee self-service. And they can apply for leave, have that approved or not.
Okay. No worries. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. If anybody has suggestions for enhancements, MYOB do have what's called an ideas portal. Now, partners ourselves basically take feedback from customers on what they would like to see done in MYOB Advanced or improved. So if you do have any enhancements that you would like to see, if you want to email them through to our support email, and we can submit them in the ideas portal. And the way that works is ideas are then voted on by all partners in the channel. And the ideas that have the most votes are usually what's looked at to happen in the short term. that's all I have. I'll just pause, and if there's any further questions, feel free to fire away. We will be releasing this online user forum in video form, so that you can refer back to some of those training areas. And if you do have any other questions, just feel free to reach out to us at any time. But thanks for your time this afternoon, everybody.